Sabrina is sharp, she's spirit-led, and she's here to help us tonight to go deeper in our understanding of both credit, personal and business, and how to position ourselves for what's next. So go get your paper, your pens, your pencils, your journals, because I'm sure there's going to be some writer downers tonight that you're going to want to write down. But please give your full attention and a warm collective welcome to my friend, Miss Sabrina Fisher.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be speaking with you all about a topic that I have such great passion for, which is anything related to numbers and financial literacy. I believe that we should all know our numbers, and credit is essentially a numbers game. So once you understand how to look at your credit report, how to make moves within it, you can see your scores change dramatically with little and minimal tweaks to what you all are doing. But before we get into all of that, I did make my slides a little bit, I won't call it basic, but I did want to build from kind of like from the ground up so that you start understanding what credit is, what your credit score is, what it does, and how to leverage that when we move into the business side of it. And I'm going to talk more on the personal credit, because if you are just getting started with building your business credit, most of the time you're going to have to leverage your personal credit in order to do that. So we'll talk a little bit about everything. And as always, the chat is open, I think, for question and answers. So if you shoot anything in there, you'll be able to ask me a question, and hopefully on the spot, I'll be able to answer those questions for you. So that's kind of like my intro. So my second slide is me. Yay! Okay. And on this slide, it's just a little bit about me. So Sharon talked a little bit about when she met me. I know I stood up in the front of the room at a retreat that we were at, and I was kind of telling my story. And at that time of me telling my story, I had just purchased my first house and I paid cash for it. And our coach was kind of like highlighting that. And while it was, I don't like, I'm not a front of the room type person. I really love to work behind the scenes, but I realized that sometimes, oh no, not sometimes, all the time, your testimony is what can inspire others to get moving and motivated, because so many times, especially the devil, he wants to make you feel like you are alone in this journey. But as we go through the slides and I give you some statistics, you'll know that wherever you at, whether you have good credit or bad credit, you are not alone, because there are millions of people that are standing right where you are now. So by telling my testimony, just a little bit of it, I was going to make it a quick story. I'm going to draw it out a little bit longer, but the synopsis is I was married, I got divorced. Peace for me was greater than finances, because I can make money. I have always been able to make money. I've thought of myself as, my wording has evolved over time, but I've always thought of myself as a hustler. Like, I can make money. I can sell, like I think Jay-Z said, I can sell water to a well. So I never thought about, when it came to looking at my peace in divorce versus my money, I never thought about not taking on all of the debt that was there, because I knew I could work my way out of it. Because again, it's a numbers game. Once I know what the numbers are, I know how to work backwards in order to get that. But I also had to do some mindset shifting in order to get there, because I had to deal with and tackle what was going on mentally with me with divorce. So when I left, I had around $300,000 worth of debt. And it was a lot of debt. And if you look at what my income was at the time, my husband and I at the time had made a decision for me to switch jobs. So I was working in corporate America, where $300,000 worth of debt was nothing, because I'm pulling in, high six figures a year. So that was nothing. But when we were starting to look at quality of life and how we was going to build our future, I decided to take a job that was not as demanding because we were looking at having kids and all of this stuff. And I had an eye twitch from the stress of the job. So we was just trying to figure out how to make life work. Therefore, I took a step down. I quit my job. I got another job that was like a third of my salary. And then we end up divorcing. So I now make less money. I have more debt than I've ever had in my entire life. And he went out, and because he was an authorized user on a credit card, he went and he bought rims for his truck. Y'all do not know. Y'all better know that I love God, because I thought many a days about taking them rims off the car in the middle of the night and rolling them down the highway. I didn't even want to sell them to anybody. I just wanted to get rid of them. But he went to Lowe's and used a credit card that, he was an authorized user on. So he was still continuously adding debt in the midst of the debt that I already said that I would take on from the divorce. So, or in the separation leading up to divorce. But God, I always had the numbers mentality. I knew I could work it, but I had to get in position to where my mindset was ready to tackle what was placed before me. It took me 5 years of discipline to get from 300,000 to purchasing a house cash. And if I can do it, you can do it. But it's going to take some work. And it's going to take some, I think there's a slide later that talks about discipline, but it's going to take a little work. It's going to take some discipline, but you will definitely be able to overcome wherever you are at in your financial journey, because God is no respecter of person. If I can do it, you can too. So I can say without reservations that it is easy once you have the tools and techniques and the fortitude to get this done.
100%. And thank you for sharing that so openly, Sabrina. But what you solidified in my mind, though, was that with God, all things are possible.
All things.
And that money really is just an idea. And once you set your intention and you change your mind and your blueprint, your money blueprint, to be different from what you have been accustomed to, then really it's not hard to make, and it's not impossible to come out of an amount of debt like that with, like you said, with the right tools, the right strategies. Anything is possible. So, ma'am, I'm going to still give you an applause tonight. If y'all believe that that is a tremendous testimony, I want y'all to just drop an 8 in the chat for new beginnings, and that 8 is for anybody that may be in a situation tonight where you don't think that it's possible, that you feel like things are just insurmountable for you. That 8 signifies new beginnings. And especially in this season, because y'all know what season we're in, the Passover season. So, Sabrina, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But for the room, I also have the degrees. I have all the credentials that's necessary to speak on the topic here. I'm not saying you guys need it, but there are rooms where people want to know what you have in order to stand before them. But I'm telling you that there's no degree that I have, there's no certification that I've attained that has taught me better than being broke. And being broke is why I can sit here and tell you today that, you know, adding and subtraction is my background, with some multiplication, maybe some division, but overcoming being broke is my story that allows me to be able to say, it's going to be all right. Assess where you at, and we can rock and roll it out.
Yo, we could have talked for days, but because we want you to join us next Tuesday for another episode of Terry Talks, that's it for today. Talk soon.